How's it going, everyone? Data here, and welcome back to New York Islanders franchise mode here in NHL 25. Moving into episode number 22 for the 2030 draft and off season. In the last one, it was an unfortunate exit in the Eastern Conference Final as we fell in 5 games to the New York Rangers. We did make it to our third consecutive Eastern Conference Final, but we could not make it a third Stanley Cup Final as we took down Dobson and the Blue Jackets in 6 in round 1, swept through one of the best teams in the league in the Devils in round 2, then fell in a Battle of New York rematch in the Eastern Conference Final in those 5 games to the Rangers, who went on to win the Stanley Cup. And by the way, a New York team has represented the Eastern Conference in the Stanley Cup Final for the last 4 years in a row now. 2 for the Rangers, 2 for the Islanders. Now we'll try and see what happens in a 5th year coming up in 2031. But before then, we have the 2030 draft and off season. Before I get into the points and all that for the postseason that was, to quickly recap things, I just want to throw it out there. This will be the last Islanders episode before Monday, March 24th, which will represent the 5th anniversary of when I started making content seriously here on the channel. I've been making videos here since, it's been, I think, 16 or 17 years that I've had this channel, Club Penguin and all of that. I'm making franchise mode videos for the last 7 years, but it was 5 years ago on March 24th, 2020, when amidst the COVID lockdown, I said, I have time off. I'm going to use this time to try and maybe go a little bit more serious into consistent content creation. 5 years later, here we are. So we'll have a special live stream celebration on Monday. I hope to see you there for that. So that being said, let's get into the postseason that was. Last season, in those 15 postseason games, Brock Boeser led the way, 10 goals, 11 assists, and 21 points for a man who's now in need of a contract. The last couple of years have been incredible for Brock Boeser as he's now come to the end of his 5 years on the original contract that he signed with us. 58, 65, 67, then 98 points 2 years ago. Last year was on pace for about 60 at the halfway point, turned on the Jets in the second half and ended with 34 goals and 82 points. And the last 2 postseasons, actually I should say the last 3 postseasons, has seen him score 65 points in 62 games. He's been a huge performer in the postseason for us. And now at 33 years of age, he is an expiring unrestricted free agent. That is probably the biggest question of this entire episode. Moving on for now, Matty Barzal at 17 in 15. Big top 50 Bo Horvat, the captain, now at 35 years of age, scored 16 points in 15 games. Oliver Kapanen, who's ready to take a bigger role here on the team, is going to be moving up in the lineup. He's now jumped from an 87 to an 89 overall after the postseason, so I don't know if that's going to stick moving into next year, but at the moment, he is definitely a top 6 centerman for us. So that means someone in our top 6 of Boeser, Barzal, Horvat, Yzerman, Laine, and Boeser will either be moving on or moving down in the lineup. It's tough. Cole Yzerman scored 11, Laine with 10, Martone 9, Jiricek 8 points in 15 games. Rare to see the production like that from him. Ethan Belchetz, who won the Calder Trophy, scored 6 points in 15 games, now at 22 years of age. Hopefully he will continue to grow too. Vince Dunn 6 points plus 9, Sandin 6, Marchman 6, Boldzuk 4 points plus 5. Love Samuel Boldzuk. Dupont 4 points plus 8 in 12 games. He missed 3 due to injury. Pollock 4 points plus 11, Fajmo 3 points in 14, and Chris Letang, who was our deadline acquisition, ended up playing in 5 games, 2 points, -2 for the 43-year-old, who has not yet retired. Also, of course, in here was Evgeny Malkin, who retired after the season at 43 years of age. He ended up playing 3 years as an Islander to end his career, 3 Eastern Conference Finals, 2 Stanley Cup Finals, and 1 Stanley Cup. He can be proud of that. And of course, as last episode was entitled, The Emperor's New Groove, Emperor Trey Augustine put on his best performance, especially at 81 overall. He went 9-4-2 with 3 shutouts, a third of his wins coming via the shutout, a .915 save percentage, and 2.47 goals against average for the rookie, who I would think, if the game weighed goalie stats a bit more, actually would have been the real Calder Trophy winner over Ethan Belchetz, but you can definitely say he was the runner-up for it. So that's the season that was, ladies and gentlemen, and now moving into the off-season, the draft will be the draft and all that, but we really have to consider what is going on with the contract situation, namely with Brock Boeser. If we look at all the expiring contracts, Boeser's the big one. Letang, Marchman, those guys are probably going to be walking. Mayfield also, unfortunately. Ryan Pollock coming back as 7th D could definitely work out, but that huge question is Brock Boeser. So before we get into the offseason, let's dive into the comments and see what the assistant general managers had to say about that in the last one. Now, I alluded to this earlier when talking about Oliver Kapanen, but allow me to make this very clear moving to the comments. The question on Brock Boeser is not whether or not that we still like him or if he can still produce on the top line. That's not what we're worried about. What we're worried about is the top 6 has been Barzal, Boeser, Martone, Horvat, Laine, and Yzerman, and all those guys are like 65, 70-plus point players. We know for a fact that Oliver Kapanen will be joining the top 6 next year, so one of those 6 names that I just said either have to be traded, let go, or bumped down to the third line. line. And with the production that these guys have been putting up, it would be hard to think about any of them dropping down in the lineup. So Brock Boeser and his expiring deal is an easy out right there. Oh, great. One out, Kapanen in. Perfect. Because all these other guys are signed on for next year, and the majority of them are signed on for the year after. It's only Barzal and Horvat who next offseason would need a deal, and you would think that those guys are two locks to come back. So the top six seems pretty solidified for years to come. And considering that Brock Boeser is now 33, and Barzal's also 33, Horvat's 35, Laine's 32, we know that in general, as a team, we want to start getting younger. But does it have to mean that Boeser moves out? Let's move to the comments here, starting off with Caleb, who said, 2 cents incoming. I think we need to keep Boeser for 2 years, maybe even for 10.5 mil just to make sure of it. Losing Malkin and Boeser would be too much of a blow to our scoring, I think. Keep that in mind as well. Not only would we be losing out on Brock Boeser, but a guaranteed loss is Evgeny Malkin, who just had like a 60-point season. He's out of the lineup now as he's retired. Caleb also saying, plus we can afford to keep him and fill our bottom 6 with grinders and enforcers, hopefully. For third-line center, we'd need that to be filled too with Oliver Kapanen coming up in the lineup. I would get someone who simulates as a playmaker and try Fagemo at third-line right wing because of his goal scoring. I bet he could get 15 to 20 with the right help. And Emperor Augustine better grow. I say keep Sorokin for now and see what he does in the regular season. If it's bad, we can afford to lose him because we know the Emperor with his new groove can perform in the postseason. Sorokin only seems to be good in the postseason, so I'm not afraid to trade him and free up the cap space. Maybe a blockbuster if we can't fill Gino's shoes goal-scoring-wise. I trust you and the other GMs will do what's best for the franchise no matter what we do. Just wanted to add my 2 cents. 2 cents added. Thank you, Caleb. Cheating Heel now brings up an interesting point that we weren't previously considering in this original comment and reply, so I'll skim through them quickly, saying a couple of offseason thoughts. If we want Kapanen to move to the top 6, yes. Would it be crazy to manage Bo Horvat's ice time since he's going to be 36 years old by putting him at third-line center? We could then let Boeser go and get the rights to a guy like Quinton Byfield, who could be a 27-year-old top player, and then fill that center spot in the top 6, as Kapanen would be one and Byfield would be the other. Boeser has been very good for us, but having him, Horvat, Barzal, and Laine as 4 of our top 6, all 32 years old or over, could be playing with fire. If Boeser stays, one of the other 3 probably needs to be moved for a younger piece. So maybe we sign Boeser and then even trade Laine for Byfield's rights. I followed that up by saying, honestly, that's not my first choice, because Bo Horvat just had a career-high 48 goals, and unless his overall really tanks, a drop from 1C to C3 probably wouldn't be happening just yet. I think any plan that we make for 2030-31 into year number 7 has to be with Horvat and Kapanen as our 2 top 6 centers, and then someone who may someday take over as Horvat as the current third-line center. Cheating Heel replied saying, I get your point about Horvat, but let's not forget that we had success in the past in our Vancouver Canucks series by dropping point per game EP40 Elias Pettersson to third line center as a 92 overall. I think it was closer to, could it be that he was a 90? But anyways, the point remains, which dropped his ice time from 18 minutes to 16 minutes and then even 14 minutes per game, and he still ended up as a point per game plus player as he was getting older. It does sound crazy on paper to do it after a 48 goal season, but with regression being what it is, it's a big gamble to not have a plan B just in case. So while I still think I'm in the camp of I want Bo Horvat as one of my top 6 centermen, I'm definitely with Cheating Heel that we need to have someone not only as a third-line center who's playing today, but a third-line center who could take over as soon as year number 7. Not even we're talking about year number 8 and onward. We're talking about as soon as year number 7 if there is some sort of regression disaster that happens with Bo Horvat. So when we think about our third-line center for this season, now that Kapanen's moving up, it should be someone who could go to the top 6 if needed, and would likely move to the top 6 come year number 8. But again, would be ready in year number 7 if something horrible were to happen with Bo Horvat's production. So that's just another idea to keep in mind. We'll go over to Gavin now, who said, unfortunate loss. EA was bound to get us after a few episodes of leaving us alone, but we move on. 3 conference finals in a row prove that we're doing something right. For Boeser, I'm conflicted. I'd really like to keep him as he has been great the last 2 years and he was a playoff performer this episode. Maybe we could do something like Boeser, Horvat, Barzal on the first line, Yzerman, Kapanen, Martone on the second line for the top 6, and then Laine slots in on the third line, and then maybe plays power play number 1, the first unit power play, I should say, to keep his ice time up, and then have Laine slot in on the third line plus first unit power play to keep the ice time up. He could also be a good mentor for Belchetz, who will need to prove himself if he wants to get into the top 6 anytime soon. This would also mean, as we've been saying, that we need a third line center. As we looked in free agency, we saw a couple names, and Gavin says Ryan Nugent Hopkins' numbers looked good, and he could be a leader. I also like Dylan Cousins' well-rounded attributes. Defense should be pretty easy to handle. We could go for a cheaper 7th D in free agency, but it would also be nice to have Pulock around for the vibes. Last thing, at the draft, I would look around the NHL for any disgruntled forward prospects to trade for, especially if we're talking about third-line center. Maybe something works out. We know that Beckett Seneca is one of those guys, but he's a winger, unfortunately. Gavin finds there's always a few young guys who are being scratched or left in the AHL and stuff like that, so we'll see what we can do there. Great episode, Data, and I will see you all at the draft. Go Isles. Thank you, Gavin. It's a big question for the offseason, so just indulge me for 2 more comments here. Moving over to Cagney, who said, "We may have an emperor, but that doesn't guarantee a dynasty." Sorry, couldn't resist that one. No, it's a great point. I like that. And we got to try and build that dynasty, as the Emperor has been showing us more and more. Now, with the way Boeser picked things up in the second half and led the team in the playoffs, it's tough to argue against re-signing him. The deal options look good, and with the modified no-trade clause, it would give us the flexibility in the coming years. As we're all saying, with Kapanen needing to get into the top 6 and Laine probably too good for the third line as of now, it makes things complicated. Plenty of ideas being suggested on this, obviously, but I'll throw one out of left field. Maybe explore options for trading Patrick Laine. If there is a player, or even multiple players, who can contribute on the third line next season but have top 6 upside for the coming years, it could be intriguing. Maybe moving him in a deal like that would be too big of a step backwards, but maybe interesting enough to explore. He's only a year younger than Boeser, though, but I'd have to recall how his contract looks versus production as well. Check that out in just a second. Cousins seems most intriguing to me for the third line center free agent option. It wouldn't be the most exciting offseason acquisition, but the team is still very much win now, so it's just a question of how to maintain that. I also like Pulock being retained as extra D. Farewell to Scott Mayfield. I'm still getting a sense for the draft and prospect progression, so perhaps a very quick prospect state of the union might be interesting next episode. Sure, we can just look at who's where and what position and who's slated to grow over the next few years. Are we at risk of getting too old and having to do a rebuild, or are there legit options to maintain from within? While the loss was no fun, as a born and raised New Yorker, I do like seeing a legit New York playoff rivalry. I'm hoping for another shot at the Rangers and hopefully revenge next season. Thank you, Cagney. So quick look at Patrick Laine. Yes, we said he signed on for 2 more years after this one. So yeah, of course, this year's done. So he signed on for 2 more years with a 16-team no-trade clause at $6.5 million. Tradable teams are there on the right if you want to see those teams. So I could see the idea of, what if we said something like Brock Boeser were to be signed on a 2-year contract, give him a big payday, we have a lot of money, he gets a 2-year deal. And then next year, in the last year of his modified no-trade clause, that's when we trade Patrick Laine. And then the year after that, Boeser would be gone once his 2 years have finished up. Horvat will be older, Barzal will be older, and then we'll have a top 6 of Kapanen, Martone, Yzerman, hopefully Belchetz. That's 4, plus maybe Dylan Cousins, we sign him in free agency, whoever we get to now as third line center, and whoever we get back from Patrick Laine in a trade. That would be 6 out of 6 for our top 6. So while I see the idea of trading Patrick Laine, maybe we could squeeze 1 more year out of him, third line plus first unit power play. He's very, very, very happy here on Long Island. It's not like, oh, he's going to play third line and now he's disgruntled, he wants to be traded. No, this guy's been loving life in that second, third line role. We gave him a chance when no one else would. We gave him big money. We got him a Stanley Cup. He's been loving life on the island. I think he'd be okay with 1 year as third line plus the finisher on the first power play. And then in the last year of his contract, after we give him 1 more run at the Cup this season, is when we consider a serious trade proposal. Could that make sense? I think so. And now looking quick at that prospect state of the union type of thing that Cagney was talking about, if we look at the unsigned prospects especially, and maybe actually no, we can look at the depth chart. It's not the greatest way to look at things, but just for a quick little idea of who's in the system, if you scroll through the NHL guys, Pressing is still a question mark for if he'll get some growth. He was an 80, dropped to 79. I'd want him to be playing third line, but maybe another year of fourth line for him. Aside from that, Carbonneau, he's now at 23. Justin Carbonneau, yeah. So if he doesn't jump to 78 or 79, he might be a trade candidate after 3 years in Bridgeport. I really want him to get some growth. I want to see him in the NHL. Aside from that, we have a couple of elites guys like Simpson, Hakana, but they're still in the 70s. Yeah, 21, 73, 22, 73. I don't know. Team in medium top 6 at 20. There's Malkin, low elite at 22. Simar, Nazarov. Yeah, so there's definitely some potential here. The low top 6s, some low elites, but they're younger and further off in overall and everything. So prospect-wise, it's fine, but for like making an NHL impact, no one really super close. And for the defense, I think life's good over here. For the NHL guys, it's 1, 2, 3, 4... Boldzuk's 5, Hornqvist 6. He's young with a medium elite potential after his rookie season last year. Engqvist has medium elite potential. He's a 76. Bates low elite 74. A lot of these guys with low top 4 or low elite potential in those mid 60 ranges. Yeah, the defense is okay. It's the goaltending where actually no, I forgot about Sasaki. Yeah. So Ivankovic is the only guy who's close. So we have a good number of prospects who are a few years away, but I wouldn't say we have really any prospects who are ready to make the jump. I think that's where the disconnect is, because we do have a good number of prospects, but none who I'd say are ready in the next year or even year or two. Not that many. We'll end it off now with Kieran, who gave an idea of the lineup saying Eisman, Horvat, Boeser first line, Martone, Kapanen, Barzal second line. Top 6 can go in any order though, really. Third line, Belchetz, new free agent, third line center, Laine. Fourth line, Fagemo, Arcuri, and then probably pressing as fourth line right wing or wherever he would go. Keep either Nelson, Carbonneau, or Nurmi as 13th forward, as to not bury an important prospect as 13th forward. Also, not making 2 free agent signings should allow for a generous Boeser 2-year deal. I think that gives each line a balance of goal scoring and defensive ability. It's a shame about this season, but I think we need to treat the Boeser deal as the 2-year stretch for this core. Barzal, Horvat, Laine, I'm going to say Pulock instead of Mayfield because he'll be walking, and Sorokin will all either be declining or done with the team after those 2 years. That gives us 2 years to develop another top 6 center to join Kapanen. I like that very much from Kieran. We have the money, we have the 2-year window. Why necessarily rush what's going to happen in 1 or 2 years and do it now when the team is producing at such a high level with 3 consecutive Eastern Conference Finals? So we're going to wait until after the draft to send out these offers, I think, but we can definitely go generous on Brock Boeser. As Cheating Heel said in his comment, this is playing with fire. I'm not going to deny it. We're playing with fire here, but I think that 2-year window that Kieran spoke about is the way to treat this, and worst case, Lining's a move next year. So 2 years, he wants some contract clauses here, no problem. The full no move clause might be tough. He had to modify, he had no trade clause previously, that's true. So let's give him not a full one, just in case. Let's make it a 24-team no trade list, so tradable to 8 teams, 2 years, and we could bring it down a little from 12.5, a little bit 12 point, can we go straight to 12? 2 years, 12 million. Yeah, we could probably do 2 years, 12 million, but we don't need to rush because we do have his rights. It's not like we're in free agency. We could try 11.75 first. Actually, we could go even further. The thing is not moving at all. It looks like, yeah, once it gets to 11.0, let's go 11.25. 2 years at 11.25. We have $22.5 million in extension dollars and barely anything to do. So Brock Boeser gets signed for 2 years at 11.25. After that contract, when he's 35, he'll walk to free agency. He has a 24-team no-trade list, so he's tradable to 8 teams if there's some sort of disaster. Patrick Laine being traded sometime next year is also a fallback. And you know what? If there's an injury in the top 6 and Laine is gone, between Belchetz, our new third-line center, and like Fagemo, I don't know if any of those guys could come to the top 6. So I don't mind having Laine there. I don't think that he minds it either. So let's send this out, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, we're playing with fire, but this is the direction that I want you to try and trust me with here. Brock Boeser, 2 years at $11.25 million. I'm going to send that offer and see what he thinks about it, and we'll go from there. That's going to be the only extension that I send out before the draft. Yeah, everyone else is going to wait. And yeah, now we move into the draft. We barely spoke about the draft. It's a draft like any other, pretty much. There's nothing too special that should be happening here. Projected, we have a late first and then a couple fourths, fifth, a couple sixths. If anything, we could think about trading for the rights of a free agent, but for the draft itself, nothing crazy will happen. We did see some potential UFAs here, like Quinton Byfield would be great, 91 overall, like Cheating Heel said, but I can't say that I'm super impressed with the production. Yes, don't get me wrong, 70 points is fine, but for a 91 overall who's going to be wanting like 12.5 million plus, playing big minutes on not a great team, but I can't say I'm super impressed by Quinton Byfield's production and a huge commitment on maybe not an 8 year, but like a 7/12, and with some sort of movement clauses involved too. I don't know. I can't say I'm 100% sold. Nick Suzuki might be an option too, but look, he played less games, 53 and 52, 86 points last year. I'd be shocked if the Canadiens don't re-sign him. I don't know what their situation is contractually. Logan Cooley could be out there, Josh Norris, Oliver Moore. So Oliver Moore with a high top 6 potential, that would be the type of guy that we think as third line center and then becomes a top 6 center the year after. 71 points in Chicago. He's been playing, I don't know, it seems like a middle 6 role, playing 16.53 per night. I could see Oliver Moore, but 89 is probably a bit too high to have him sit for 1 year as third-line center. Maybe more of a Shane Wright, who's an 87. Shane Wright, who had 61 points last year. Again, playing that middle 6 role, 17.42 of ice time. He's had some interesting years. 71, then 40, then 61. I don't know. I could see Shane Wright taking, not a discount, but like not breaking the bank Yeah, a lot of names out here. Honestly, I think we're going to wait for free agency and see who has interest and who wants what. Because trading for anyone now, when there's so much uncertainty, is taking a big gamble on does that player even want to sign here and what kind of clauses would they be wanting. Let's wait for free agency because there are a lot of good options. Trading for the rights of a 90 plus overall player still costs a lot. So I think let's wait for free agency. That being said, well, I wouldn't really call this the intro, but long pre-draft discussions. And speaking of those discussions, got to give a huge, huge shout out to Sam, who left possibly the longest comment in channel history. It was an essay, over 1,600 words. Sam, you're a monster out there. This is the AGM commitment that I love to see. So I obviously can't go through a comment of that length in a recorded episode, but just wanted to say, take a second. If you can't pause and get a magnifying glass to read it, go back in the last episode and find the comment and read through it, because there's a lot of good things in there that we took into consideration. Thank you, Sam. So let's get into the draft now. None of the top picks seem to be up for grabs. We see pick number 11 is the closest one, so I don't think that we'll be trading up at all. The first overall pick going to the Pittsburgh Penguins is an 82 overall medium elite left wing sniper, Ekholm. The Canadians get Sidhu, medium elite power forward at number 2, and Weinrich, medium elite, going at number 3 to the Sabres. So we pick at 29. Let's start simming towards that pick because there is a guy that we like at 27 or 28. So let's start simming towards that pick. So here at 27, we're getting into the bit of the medium top 9 forward. Still a lot of medium top 6, medium top 4D and all that. Looking here at pick 27, is this where the guy is? No, he's at 20. Well, we could get him at 29 then. Alexeev, Yuri Alexeev, low elite potential, 3 years away. Maybe we could get him. I'm going to say let's risk it. I don't want to trade up and use our picks. Because if you pick at 29, yeah. Well, I'm going to say let's risk it. So New Jersey takes Audi Marchessault. And the Panthers, yes, take that guy medium top 9. You can trust the AI to not do the smart thing more often than not. So Yuri Alexeev will be our guy. Let's head up to the podium. With the 29th overall selection in the 2030 NHL entry draft, the New York Islanders are proud to select from the KHL, Yuri Alexeev. Yuri, welcome to Team Bello. You are 65 overall, low elite. Thank you very much. I'll take that value in the midst of medium top 9s and all that, so that's fantastic. No problem. Our next pick comes at 97 now, so there's definitely going to be a lot of picks between 30 and 97 who we would love to get. We just don't really have a lot of trade value, though. We could trade the rights to guys like Brock Nelson and Scott Mayfield, but that doesn't really get from 97 to 40, let's say, when there's someone that we really, really want. At 97, there's not a ton out here. We'd probably be going for one of these high starters that we pinned. There's Ashton Blaine and Terry Scarabelli, both high starters. We're also targeting a medium elite goalie later in the draft, so getting a couple goalies. We already have, we said, like, what, 3 goalies deeper in our system? So I'm not saying we don't go for the high starter, but if we were to use that pick 97 and not take a goalie, and instead trade up from 97 to try and go for, maybe not Duda because he's medium elite, we can get a medium elite goalie later on, but maybe like a guy like Mackinnon, a low top 4 offensive defenseman who's 3 years away at 87, or even one of these forwards, Jason Schmalz, maybe not 4 years away, but maybe a center. We have almost none in our system, Marc Potvin. Yeah, that's probably where we need the most help, actually. Like in the entire organization, it's at center. So if we think about who are the other centers out here, it might be interesting. 38 would be tough, though. Karahalti. And after that, it's low top 6s. Wayne Hernandez, Ryan Flynn is 3 years away. Marc Potvin, 18, 5'9". None of these guys are huge. Fernandez, 6'2". Potvin, there's even this guy, Kvasha. Ruslan Kvasha, he's 20. Yeah. So Potvin might be our last chance at a somewhat decent center here. So maybe let's try and trade for like pick 78 or something. Let me see what I can do. The Blues have 2/3, so could I give you pick 97 and the rights to Chris Letang for 77? Too far off. I know we have the rights to Brock Nelson out here. Maybe he's an AHL guy for us just for fun. Palmieri was that guy. Lee was that guy. Maybe Nelson is now that guy. Kulunumi, medium 7th D, throw him into the deal just for fun. What do you say? There we go. Thank you, St. Louis. So Chris Letang's rights off to St. Louis. Thank you for your short amount of service here, Chris, trying to go and chase that cup with Evgeny Malkin. He was very glad to do it alongside you. Now, why? See, this is, what? 2 7ths for a 3rd. This is the trade that the AI wants to offer me? Are you serious? What a slap in the face. Anyways, so although we could have taken that... we could have taken a high starter goalie. Instead, I'm going to take a low top 6 centerman, and then we'll take a medium elite goalie later, because as much as it would be nice to get 2 good potential goalie prospects in the system, the centers are more needed at this time. Donc, Marc Potvin, bienvenue à l'équipe avec, which pick is this? 77e. Here we go. Marc Potvin is a 63 overall with low top 6 potential. Sniper, can we get some little 2.5 star, 3 star shooting? Yeah, 2.5 star shooting. Okay. Nice. 5'9". We'll see if he becomes anything, but just to say we need some centers in this system. Next pick comes at 125, so can we sim until then? I always want to press that button, but then I miss sometimes a guy. I would have missed Potvin if I hadn't thought about it a bit more. So, at 125, right before that, anyone that we really want at before 125? No, we can go ahead and actually, it's a medium top 6 forward there. So, sim to 125 with pick 29 of the 4th round, and there you go, Summers. Or do we take Richardson? So there's Summers, what's it? Brock Summers, 5 years away, 18 years old, sniper, medium top 6 potential. Richardson, medium top 4D, defensive defenseman, 6'5", 19 years old and 5 years away. Versus 18 and 5 years away. Just the defensive defensemen are so hard to develop, but we've seen those like Beninos in Vancouver and stuff like that, that random defensive defenseman who sometimes does. Medium top 4 versus medium top 6. We have a lot of low top 6 forwards. The medium top 6 at this point is valuable, and Richardson, although he could grow, has a lower chance of growing. So I think I'll lean with the 18-year-old who has medium top 6 forward potential. Brock Summers from the Winterhawks, 51 overall, medium top 6 sniper. Welcome to the team, 6'1" sniper for the 4th round pick. All right, next pick's gonna be at number 157 now. We're getting close to taking that medium elite goalie. There's gonna be one before that. There's Miura, 17, Eric Miura, 6'2". Then there's Ackerman, who's 6'3", who's 18, 5 years away. Oh, that's tempting. Miura and Ackerman, both medium elite in the 140 plus ranked for Central Scouting. The 17-year-old's definitely tempting. Miura would require us to trade up, while Ackerman would not, but he is a year older, but an inch taller. He weighs 196. Miura's an inch shorter and weighs 207. Both are 5 years away, and for all we know, Miura could be turning 18 in a week. Oh, man, that's a tough one. So I think we're going to wait for Ackerman then. Although I gotta say, there's not much really out there. So maybe we trade our next pick. Let's go to 157 here. Maybe we trade this next pick. Let's just see what he was quickly, Miura. Okay, Miura was 48 overall, but 17, but yeah, 48 overall. Also, this guy Addison was here, medium elite 58 overall. How old was he? He was 20, Ron Addison. Okay, so he was 48. Now, at our selection, because then after that, do we wait for Ackerman? We have a pick in the 170s, if I'm not mistaken. If we look here, we have 157 now. Okay, we could take him at 163. We could straight up just trade 157 for a 5th next year. So maybe we do that, because not much interests me here at this selection. No, we're going to trade this pick for a 5th next year. Let's see, from a bottom-feeding team, maybe Western Conference Predators, let's say. A 5th next year for a 5th this year. What do you say? Trade accepted. Thank you very much. Okay, I'll take that every day of the week. We'll sim through it. They get a low top 6D. We'll go to 163, and now we'll take that goalie, who's still in the 170s or 80s or whatever, but don't want to risk anything. Plus, we just have one more pick anyways. So there he is. Ackerman, medium elite. At 18, I hope he's not 48 overall. Welcome to Team Bello. You are 50 overall. All right, 50 overall, medium elite. The value in the 6th round is great. Would Miura be better at 48 and 17? Potentially. But I'm okay with a medium elite goalie joining the system, no matter when or where or what overall, whatever confines he might be within. 175 now, last pick of the draft. Let's see, what do we want to go for? Probably off the board. Low elite McClement, yeah, probably him. Brandon McClement, 19-year-old with low elite potential. If you sort here, yeah, there are 2 low elites. There's also Griffin Spencer, who's 20 though, a gem who's 25 years away. No. So we'll go with McClement. Brandon McClement from the Brandon Wheat Kings, 19-year-old sniper. Welcome to the team. You are 55 overall, low elite. All right, so a solid enough draft. I like that. No major moves. You traded out the rights to the time. We got some value there. Alexeev, Potvin, Summers, Ackerman, and McClement, welcome aboard for the 2030 draft class. Not a large number of picks, but I think getting that 5th, especially for that 5th next year, will work out because there wasn't anyone that we were interested in. So now let's advance today. Brock Boeser, we want to see if he's going to be signing 2 years at 11.25. Brock, what do you say to this? Contract scouts will do that in a second. Brock, rejected. The trade protection I'd be getting doesn't meet my needs. All right, so at least it's a new message. Now let's see what will will there be any change, I should say, to the demand now that we're after the draft? The magical draft has passed. Now we've got to see how does that change the demands. So Brock Boeser now would be looking for 4 by 11.525, and he wants a full no move clause. So yeah, the demands have changed a little bit. So if I say, now that we can offer him the exact same thing, because now it's after the draft and his demand has changed, his AI brain has changed. So now we up the money. We were already willing to up it to 12 plus million anyways. Now he really wants that full no move clause, huh? Even if we go to, let's say, 14 million just for, even 15, hold on. Yeah, we'd be talking like 14 some million. So if we give him the full no move clause, he might do like 2 by 13. Is it crazy? Yes. Can we afford it? Yes. And worst case, like we said, Laine is the guy who can be moved out. We could move out Laine, we could move out Sorokin. Those are movable contracts. Having Boeser on a full no-move clause wouldn't be the end of the world. Paying him like whatever, 1.5 million more than we were going to pay him, but we would still have like 9.5 million left over with nothing else to do aside from a third-line center. A third-line center with 9.5 million, yeah, we could be okay. We will be okay. So Brock Boeser, I will offer him 2 years at 13 million. Again, as I said before, just trust me here. 2 years, 13, full no move clause. It's a little crazy. We're playing with fire, but we're going to see what he thinks about it. Now, Mason Marchment is definitely going to be released. Ryan Pulock we want to keep. Arcuri we want to keep. Scott Mayfield we will be releasing. Oh, man. Scott Mayfield, we love you, buddy. We love you. From an original Islander drafted in the second round of 2011... 2011, 19 years later, we are now going to be moving on from him. He's 37 years of age. He got his Stanley Cup. He gave his service to Long Island. He appeared in 830 games as an Islander, 41 goals, 134 assists, 175 points, a plus 56, and in the playoffs, 25 points and a plus 35 in 111 games. So like 0.23 points per game in the playoffs. Okay, and 0.21 points per game in the regular season. So a little bit higher in the postseason. Scott Mayfield, thank you for everything. It was an honor having you. We spent 6 years with you here in the GM Data era. We got you your cup, one of the original Islanders, and now we will bid you farewell as we release you to free agency. Oh, man. So the rest of the UFAs, all these young guys will be signed. Offman, would you want to stay? What would you be wanting, Offman? Yeah, we could probably keep Offman. Arcuri for fourth line. Pulock would be, I'd like to keep him as 7th D. He wants 2 years at 2.1, so he really wants the 2 years. Again, we have the money. Probably 1 year, 2 million on a full no-move clause. And let me wait and see on Brock Boeser. Arcuri, yeah. So Brock Nelson now's another one. If he wants a two-way deal, he can stay, no problem. Yeah, perfect. So Brock Nelson, you can be the AHL guy. You can be the mentor down in Bridgeport. No problem. 1 year, 0.925, let's say. Awesome. He'll get back to us tonight, so we can keep him a little while longer. I don't know if he'll be in the NHL, but we keep him a little while longer. Preston gets signed on. Nurmi, maybe. Carpino, definitely. Odelius, I'm not so sure. Kale, yeah. So on some of these guys. We'll see what happens there. Unsigned prospects, no one's getting signed right now. And finally, the goaltenders. Matt Murray will be released because Ivankovic could be pushing for the NHL. So Matt Murray will be released. He never ended up playing any regular season games as an Islander, just a preseason. Ivankovic will get his contract, and we'll see what happens with off-season growth. So I'll take care of some of those contracts and be back in just a second, including the coaches and scouts. All right, so ready to advance today. Some players obviously signed on immediately because you gave them exactly what they're asking for, so those are already gone. Let's start seeing what Brock Boeser and guys like that are going to be saying to these offers. Brock Nelson's back on board, sticking with the team. Thanks for the stability. No problem. Have fun in Bridgeport. Brock Boeser's on board. So it's a huge price tag, but thankfully we don't need to go into like different stratospheres of 15 plus million. And we can say we have the money for now, so we're going to spend it for now. I accept your offer to stick with the team. Thanks for the stability. 2 more years of Brock Boeser. Ivankovic also on board. There you go, leaving us with 10.7 million, still a ton of money. Let's say Pulock takes maybe close to 2. That's still over 8.5 million just for a third line center. So if we go back to all expiring and start with the RFAs here. So Preston gave him an RFA deal I wanted to wait for all of you to show you this contract. We could go 1 year RFA 1.5. 2 years, he only wants 1.575, but the interest does start to drop a little bit. And after that, he's a UFA. So because the interest is so much higher for 1 year and he stays as an RFA, we'll do 1 year. We could bring it down to 1. You could probably get it to, yeah, no, even a bit more. 1.35. There you go. 1 year, 1.35 on Ralph Pressing as he's going to try and continue to show some potential for growth. Nurmi, Kale, all these other guys down here. I'm going to see if there's even spots in the AHL for them. I don't want to sign them and then they just have to be traded after. And for the UFAs, of course, so Ryan Pulock now. Let's get him done. We definitely have the money. So let's go. It's going to be 1 year. We'll give him, hold on. Yeah, the full no-move clause to tell him, listen, you're going to be sticking around for the entirety of the year. You might not get much NHL action, but we promise you another year with the Islanders, and we will not be moving you in the last year, and in this expiring year of your contract. So we have the money to do it. I guess it's going to be 1 year, $2 million. 1 year, $2 million, full no-move clause. Again, if we need drastically, desperately, or whatever, to move money, there's Sorokin, there's Laine, we can survive. So $2 million for Ryan Pulock, which would leave just over 8.5. Arcuri as fourth line center, two-way deal, say no more. Can we even go two? No, do 1 year. Yeah, I'll give you the $850 that you want. 1 year, $850, two-way, say no more, accept the offer. And Brennan Othmann, he's been in Bridgeport. Now we have Carbon, who's probably come up, could be 13th forward if we have. I don't know. Othmann, I don't feel like he's a need. And he's also findable in free agency. As much as he had good results, 57 points in Bridgeport, I'm going to say Brennan Othmann can walk, and we'll revisit what we need for the AHL team once the season rolls around. So in the AHL right now, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we could sign a couple of these RFA guys. Not all three of them, but a couple of them. So Nurmi, 78-25, is closest to the NHL, so maybe Nurmi would be 13th forward. I wonder. And then Kale and Zaeski can both stay in the AHL. Okay, so you know what? I'm going to sign all three of them. They all really want those 2 years, but I don't really want to give 2 years. So 1 year, $975 for all three of them, I believe, is what I was offering. That's the RFAs, UFAs. I think that's everybody, right? Goalies even. Yes. Okay, so that wasn't too painful. Advance another day. I'm sure some of the scouts coming on now. I don't feel the role you've offered me is appropriate. Ask the one you asked for, Amari Playfair. Oh, boy. Then the scouts. Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Don't feel the role's appropriate. Again, that's the one you asked for. You're the AHL head... Hold down, hold it back, hold it back. Ryan Pulock accepts, there you go. So does Nurmi, Zeski, Kale, pressing. Awesome. Okay, so $9.235 million actually, I guess with moving players around NHL, AHL, blah, blah, blah. The game does that. And that's everybody. All the expiring players are taken care of. Sylvester and Girard. I was looking at forwards. So Sylvester and Girard looking at the defense now in the system. That leaves us with 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 defensemen. So yeah, we could sign these 2 RFAs to play 1 more year. Wants a one-way deal. Yeah, the 68 overall wants a one-way deal. So qualify you. And let me guess, Girard, you want the same thing because the defensemen are so special. Yeah, $1.2 million as a 64 overall. Yeah, so we'll qualify them, and that's it. Okay, then we can advance to free agency and see who's going to be available to potentially fill that hole at third-line center. I'm very excited to see who's going to be out there. So I'll go back to the coaching to try and sign those bums. Just throw some more money at them, and if not, then off to unemployment for you. Okay, there we go. Continuing to sim to July 1st. Sim to free agency. Happy to accept that their scouts are signing on. Great. And now let's see, with a little bit more money. I'm not thrilled with the role you've offered me. That is the role that you have. That is the role you are fit for. That is the role you have asked for. Same for this guy. Okay, what, these messages, just those messages alone? And actually, no, sorry, Playfair didn't sign. Okay, bye. Just these messages alone make me want to not even just put everything to auto for coaching. Anyways, here we are now on July 1st. The very first thing I always do on July 1st is check out what the potential extensions are for any other players like Bo Horvat we saw and Matty Barzal. What would they potentially be thinking about? Landon Dupont, yes, he's going to want crazy money, but hopefully we can bridge it a little bit. So as of right now, he wants 6 by 11.8. If we were to give him his big contract and go into the 13 millions, yeah. Or we can go 4 years and keep him as an RFA. Not a question you need to answer right now, but keep it in mind. Matty Barzal will be an expiring UFA. Currently looking at 3 by 13. So let's let him regress a little bit, and we'll revisit that. David Yurchek, man, it's going to be a huge offseason next year. Yurchek wants 1 by 11. And anything else, they're going to 12, 13, 14 million per year more. Oh, goodness. Vince Dunn at 6.25. I wonder if he would be able to stay after that. 7.1. We could probably do that. We could probably do that on Vince Dunn for 3 years, but he is 33 going on 34. You'll be paying him into some tough years. Keep it in mind again with regression. Maybe he goes down to top 4D potential and he drops to an 87 or something. And Bo Horvat, who has dropped down from elite potential to top 6 potential, wants 1 by 9. So another one that we'll wait and see on. Ethan Belchet's expiring RFA is looking at 2 years at under $2 million at the moment to stay as an RFA. You can even do up to 3 years to keep him as an RFA. Okay, so yeah, next offseason will be a huge one, as that's 5 players who are 88 overall or higher. And for the goaltending, no, that's not Sorokin's year just yet. So until then, we'll keep seeing who does what and who has deserved what. But for now, we can enter free agency. So right off the bat, there are some of those big names we were thinking about. Quinton Byfield, Logan Cooley, Nick Suzuki, even Oliver Moore. But let's quickly just sort by the UFAs. That takes out Moore. And Cooley even. So let's go to centers. All right, so Byfield, Suzuki, Norris, Veleno, Thompson, Ratu, Sharangovich, Newhook, Nugent Hopkins, Cousins. Yeah, a fair deal of options, and a lot of players were interested. As we are a very competitive team. 3 consecutive Eastern Conference Finals, 2 Stanley Cup Finals last 3 years, a Stanley Cup last year before this one. Players want to come to the island. Now, when we think about the confines that I set out previously, a guy who can play third-line center, but be called upon as soon as this year, you never know, to have to go into the top 6, I don't think we can start thinking about 82s. I think the minimum would be probably the 84 range, so probably from Ryan Donato upwards, and someone who's preferably not already like 33, 34. So a guy like Dylan Cousins, Alex Newhook isn't as interested, Dylan Cousins is interested. Sharangovich, we're getting into the 7 millions. Ratu, very, very interested. So maybe we could get him to come down cheaper as he is at 4 by 8.1. Ratu, a great player in our Canucks franchise, Data 782 Hall of Fame nominee, and former draft pick of the Islanders, traded to the Canucks in the Bo Horvat deal. 78 faceoffs aren't ideal. They aren't as bad as they were in NHL 24, but he's coming off of a 69-point season. Previously, the point totals weren't that great, more in the 30s, but now the ice time has gone up, and he has shown the capability to perform. I wonder. Thompson, not as interested. Joe Veleno is 30 and 89. It's probably now too high of an overall. Let me start getting to that range. So I'd say anyone from Cousins to Ratu. I don't know about Nugent Hopkins, who's 37, though. And again, Newhook isn't as interested. Sharangovich, how are the faceoffs for him? 70 faceoffs. I don't know. I don't want to just say Dylan Cousins because we already said Dylan Cousins, but it sounds like he's probably the best option here. He's one of the most, if not the most interested. The cap hit is doable. 4 years, 29, 85 overall. The point totals have not been great, but Buffalo has not been good. 24 points 2 years ago, 41 last year. Ouch, these are some tough numbers. But look at this, playing under 12 minutes a night. 14.45 last year with 41 points is a bit more respectable. But I think he could do a lot better in the Islanders system than in Buffalo's system. If he was on any other team, I'd think about it a bit differently. But Buffalo, just poverty in this franchise mode so far. And the players are suffering as a result. So if we were to go to Dylan Cousins and think about a contract offer to him, he would want only a modified no-trade clause. That's not bad at all. So for 4 years, 3 years comes down to $5 million even. 5 years, I would be even down for 5 years at 5.5 to bring that down. So anyways, let's say we're saying 5 years. We don't need to worry about the money so much in franchise mode NHL 25. It's more the interest bar. So if a team gives him a deal that he's more interested in, he'll sign with them. But he won't sign with another team just because necessarily they offered more money. That's the good part of this new system. So if we went for 5 years at 5.5, he'd still be very interested in that. Can we go lower than that? Yeah, we could go lower and the interest stays the same. So where does it cap off there? It looks like hold on, 5.25 is where it caps off. So 5 by 5.25, that's with a 10% modified no trade clause though. If we go to 25% or even 50%, 16 team no trade wouldn't be a hard thing to manage. 16 team no trade, maybe even go, I don't know, he wants 10%, I'm going to give him 36, let's say. We'll go to 12 team no trade, and then we bring it down to 5 by 5. How about that, Dylan Cousins? But I want to make sure that we get him. If it's this good of a deal, I don't want to miss out on it because of a little notch of whatever. So let's keep the 5.25 for 5 years, especially considering that the cap now in this universe is 107 million. We'll give him the 12-team no-trade list for all 5 seasons of the deal to bring him to 34 years of age. He'll be our third-line center, hopefully even fill in as a second-line center one day, maybe cap in first line, I don't know what. And then by the end of that deal, after 2 or 3 seasons in the top 6, he can go back to third line. I don't know. Maybe someone else replaces him and we trade him. That's why the trade flexibility is there. So Dylan Cousins, 5 by 5.25 with 36% of modified no-trade coverage, and he accepts it right away! Dylan Cousins, welcome to Long Island! Oh, that's a big one. So we bring in Dylan Cousins, we keep Brock Boeser, and we still have almost $5 million in cap space. Now, next offseason, we know that there's going to be a ton of trouble. We already saw how many players are expiring. That's where the potential Ilya Sorokin and or Patrick Laine moves could come in, because all expiring now with, let's say, Dylan Cousins factored in, that leaves us with 35.175 million. So 35.17, if it ends up being 10 to Dupont, 10 to Barzal, 10 to Jiricek, that's 30 million. The leftovers to Horvat, I don't know, maybe Vince Dunn walks. By then, I think for sure by then Ilya Sorokin will be gone. I think this is going to be the last year for Sorokin. I could see 2 more years of Laine, but I don't think I can see 2 more years of Sorokin. So that's going to be 8.25 off the books as well. So take that 35 point whatever. 35.175 plus another 8.25, we're getting close to 42.5 million. I think we'll be okay with Dylan Cozens making that money and for the 2-year deal that we gave to Brock Boeser. Oof, that is exciting. Dylan Cozens, welcome to Long Island. 5-year deal for him. And although there were those bigger names in free agency, like we said, the Quinton Byfields and all that, I think we can wait 1 more year, keep that top 6 that has gotten us to 3 consecutive Eastern Conference Finals, and then when we have to trade out Sorokin and or Laine, that will be the value that helps us to bring in a younger player. Because if, yes, we went out and got Byfield, that would be awesome, but he would be taking up 13 million as opposed to 5.25 million. So it would be great to say we have Byfield over Cozens, but that would be $8 more million over longer term, over 7 years, that we might not be able to afford come next year for the extensions. So there were definitely a lot of ways we could have gone with this. Maybe you disagree with me. I fully understand that. I think this was the move for this offseason without sacrificing the future to say, okay, well, now we're definitely going to be in a huge rebuild. No, I think we can still be in the same position next offseason, but instead of talking about Boeser moving, it's Sorokin and or Laine. All right, so I did a lot of explanation there. It's more for me than for anything. I'm just kind of talking myself through all the motions. For anyone else who might be out here, if you're curious in free agency, if we sort by, maybe you should sort by affordable. By then it takes out the UFA, so we'll keep in the UFAs. If we had 5 million left, yeah, we wouldn't be looking at any of these defensemen here. We'd be looking at some like third pair kind of guys. So thank goodness the defense is okay and ready to go. For the goaltending, I wonder, Devin Levi, 88 overall, wants 10.45 million. He wants out of Buffalo. Ingram, Decord, Allmark, etc. And then for the forwards, again, like we just saw, it's those higher overall players, especially for the centers, who would want to be in the top 6, and then it drops to the 86 and unders. So Aturatu would have been awesome. His interest to sign here was really high. At 8, we could have gotten it to come down as well with that organizational interest. But between the lower face-offs and just having him for an extended period in our Canucks series, I wouldn't have minded going a different way, and that's exactly what we did with the acquisition of Dylan Cozens. So again, there's a few different ways we could have gone. I hope that you like the moves that we did, and we'll see how it brings us, where it brings us growth-wise into year number 7. So speaking of growth, I'm going to send a few off-season focuses. Probably Dupont for the puck skills, Martone to shoot a bit more. It's like 3 or 4 consecutive years of 20 goals. Have him shoot a bit more. Maybe Yzerman, because he's down at 86 overall for some reason. Belchetz, yes. Augustine, yes. Hornqvist, yes. Pressing, yes, and that'll probably be it. So I'll do some off-season focuses, and then we'll also just check the draft class. All right, so last year's class was a low-medium class. So we're going to say for this year in the random number generator, between 1 and 100, 1 to 20 will be low, 21 to 79 will be medium, and 80 to 100 will be high. So randomizing 1 to 100, we get 9 back-to-back low draft class qualities. Really? That's pretty rare. And now the question will be, what happens to the generated prospect quality? So generating again, we get 88. This will be something. A low-high draft class. So the class itself is low, but with the high generated prospect quality, there'll be more top-end prospects involved. That's a bit of a weird one. Is it just that there's going to be like a franchise guy first overall, but like the depth of the quality is not great? We'll find out. But after having a low-medium class in 2030, we'll have a low-high class in 2031. I think that about does it. I'm going to send out the off-season focuses. Yep, there we go. And then we'll get to seeing what kind of growth we see over the preseason. So everybody, after that tough Battle of New York, everyone rest up, go in the ice bath, enjoy the beach in Fiji, and I'll see you at training camp. All right, preseason time. My fingers and toes have been crossed for 2 months now. Let's see what kind of growth we get, if any, moving into year number 7. Looking at a quick little browsing here, I like what I see. Horvat's still at an 88, and Kapanen maintains the 89, and he also gains a couple of 3 X factors. He just had Big Tipper. Now he also has Elite Edges, Ice Pack, and Quick Draw. Woo, very valuable. So I see that. Laine 88, Martone 89, Belchetz from 82 to 83. Boeser does drop from 90 to 88. Makes sense at his age, but as long as he keeps producing, it's not a big deal. On defense, done. Dupont from 92 to 93, and Pulock down to an 80, but he'll be 7th D anyways. And goaltending, Sorokin down to an 85, but Augustine still an 81. What's it gonna take, man? Hornqvist up to 81. That's great. He'll be in the NHL, of course. And down in the AHL, how we looking? Nelson at 76. Carbonneau stuck at a 77. He's probably trade bait at this point, honestly. And on defense, Ulf Enqvist up to a 78. He'll be in the NHL very, very soon. Bates up to a 76. Goaltending Ivankovic, 76! 76. Ivankovic might even be trade bait himself now. The guy just can't grow. I've seen other franchise modes where he does so well. Akana up to a 75 as well, by the way. And Simpson, where's Simpson? 74 down there. I've seen other franchise modes where he does so well, but he doesn't want to grow here. What I'll do now is fix up the lineup for how we think it might look to start the season, and we'll go from there. Cool, so the game crashed for some reason. I was about a minute and a half into talking about the lines that I had fixed, and I didn't even do anything special that we know that are established glitches. The game just, boom, crashed. So, awesome. Let's see where the last save is. Thank goodness it's September. I was about to have a fit. I held off my fit, and I'm glad I did. Thank goodness it's September. All right, so we'll go back to where we were. I'll make the changes that I said I was going to make. That was a concerning moment, but thankfully didn't affect us too much. And there we go, so let's try this again. First line, Barzal, Horvat, Boeser. As Barzal does have the 77 faceoffs, but with Bo and Kapanen now up there, they'll be our two centermen. Horvat, of course, the 89 faceoffs, Kapanen the 83, plus they both have quick draw now. So Barzal will play the wing. He's center right wing, but Boeser's been having so much success on the right side, we'll probably keep him there and Barzal to the left. So +5 in that first line. Yzerman, Kapanen, Martone on the second. I don't know how Cole Yzerman can't grow beyond 86. The guy just scored 43 goals, and he's still stuck at an 83 overall. I had him work on the defense over the offseason focus and everything, but he's still stuck at an 86. Anyways, Kapanen and Martone on the second line with him, the +2. Third line, Patrick Laine and the 5 superstar abilities. I know it's not his fit. We'll see what we can do with Cousins and Belchetz. Belchetz did grow up to an 83, I believe. Was it the puck skills I had him work on? So there you go with a 99 shooting power. And the fourth line, Fagemo, Arcuri, and Pressing with the +1. Pressing, I had him work on his skating, still 1.5 stars. So I don't know if he's ever going to grow with that lowly potential. On defense, Dupont, Yurchek on the top pair, 93, 91 with a +4. Incredible top pair. Dunn and Sandin on the second. And third pair, Boldzuk now with Hornqvist up to an 81 overall. The 19-year-old moving into his sophomore season, 10th overall pick in 2029. Here are how the attributes look on him. And then for the goaltending, of course, Ilya Sorokin, 85 overall, backed up by 81. Still an 81. Overall, Trey Augustine. Pollock at an 80 is the healthy scratch for the 7th D, and Nurmi, 78 overall for 13th forward. If he needed a different 13th forward from the AHL, it would probably be Carbonneau at 77, but between Carbonneau and Ivankovic and some of the other guys, like even a little bit from Simpson, a little bit from Malkin, I don't know, Kale, Zayevsky, these guys are all still stuck at the overalls they've been for the last year, 2 years. It's frustrating. So the lines look like this for now, but I can still make more changes if need be. And now Riley Stepan with lowly potential will be backing up Ivankovic in the AHL. So are there more changes to be made there? Potentially. That's where we might take a peek at the trade blocks to start the year. We don't always have to make our trades right at the beginning of the year. It could be after the halfway point. But we will do our due diligence to see the blocks around the NHL. Keep in mind how the trade values look on our side and the $4.91 million that we have available to us. Here are the trade values and some of the trade clauses surrounding some of the players. If you're thinking about offloading some value of certain guys you're not liking the growth from or whatever it might be. And for the draft picks, we have a 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 2 5ths, 6th, and a 7th. Let's get through these trade blocks quickly to end off the episode. Anaheim, skaters matching the block, and let's sort by overall. All right, so anyone that catches your eye, let me know. We can go and look deeper on them, but I'll take a little peek this way here. So O'Connor, Jack Guy, former Islander, Thrun, Bryson in Anaheim. Boston has Elias Lindholm. He would be open to coming to Long Island. Brink, Holmberg, Lizotte, Evans down the list there. Nothing much in Buffalo. Calgary, nothing really. Carolina, nothing really either. Chicago has Sam Bennett, but he's not open to coming here. Nugent Hopkins, who just signed. He's already on the block. Tervainen, Brandstrom, Drury, Nurse. Colorado, Sam Girard, expiring deal. It's an 85 overall. Columbus, nothing really there. Dallas, nothing. Detroit, a lot of names in Detroit. DeBrincat, Moritz Seider, who's open to coming here. DeBrincat is not. Emil Heineman, open to coming here. And Dylan Larkin, not open to coming here. So Seider and Heineman, both open to coming to Long Island on expiring contracts. And solid AAVs, just a lot of trade value. Rasmussen, Roslovic, Chatfield, etc. But definitely Moritz Seider and Emil Heineman as the big names there in Detroit. Wow. Edmonton, nothing much. Florida, nothing much. LA, Nick Hague is open to coming. Zaka, not. Ryan Donato, who just signed, already on the block. Marino would be open. Actually, Zaka, no, he has a full no-move clause, but a modified no trade. Okay, so yeah, Zaka would be open to, but at 7.7 for 2 more years, I don't think so. Minnesota, Montreal, Damon Severson. Nashville, Anthony Duclair, another one to bring back home maybe. New Jersey has some interesting prospects here. Just want to take a little peek at these guys. I know we're not necessarily looking to offload NHL talent. Like, let's say they want to move away a prospect. They are buyers. So who could we give them as buyers? Not much unless we're moving a roster player. That's the problem. So sorting again by overall here. We see prospects with the Rangers. Senators, not much there. Flyers, nothing really. Penguins, Valimaki, Johnson. San Jose, Seattle. Dylan Strome is open to coming here. We thought about Dylan Strome as that third line option about a year ago as well, but being 33, it kind of takes away from the whole let's try and have a guy who could go into the top 6 next year type of thing. Like Dylan Cousins could be our second line center and captain in our first as soon as year 8 if it were needed. Will that happen? Maybe not, but Cousins could fill that role, I think, as an 85 who's still, like under 30 years of age. So Strome would be great, but he's 33 and an expiring deal. Who knows what we would have wanted after that. St. Louis, Jordan Kyrou open to coming here. Pavel Buchnevich open to coming here. Jake Neighbors on the block. Novak also open to coming here. Wow. Big names in Detroit and big names in St. Louis on expiring contracts. Imagine a Jordan Kyrou kind of guy. 70 faceoffs though, so more of a winger. Okay, Lightning not much. Maple Leafs not much. Utah, Freddie Gaudreau. Vancouver, Connor Garland. Expiring deal for Nikita Kucherov. 85 overall Nikita Kucherov. Let me guess, he just signed. Yeah, he just signed, so we'll wait on that. Cyplikov, former Islander. Bemstrom, Cooley, Joshua. And then, wow, a lot of names in Vegas, too. Seth Jones will be open to coming here. Manjapane. Tolvanen, Data 72 Hall of Famer, Eli Tolvanen. Noah Hannafin will be open. Pionk, Whitecloud, Dorofeyev. Hurdle would not be open, but there you go. A lot of expiring deals between Detroit, St. Louis, and Vegas especially. A little bit Miroshnichenko, at that now. In Washington and Winnipeg, Scheifele, not open to coming here, but Frederick, Cunnin, Costin, down the list. Okay, wow. And you know what? Also just look, I'll show you any goalies who might be on the block too if you're thinking about something of the goaltenders. In Buffalo, I could see Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen being moved as Gabriel Daigle will need a contract after this year. And actually he has an extension, a one-year extension, but still. I could see the Sabres having to move UPL if it were the right situation. I could see it. Carolina probably has an excess of one of these lower overall goalies between Ingram, Rodrigue, and Schmid. Same story for Detroit as they have Dostal, Kosa, and Almfelt, all 82 overall plus. 4 goalies who are 80 overall plus in Los Angeles, while Merzlikins on the block, and then 3 others who are all 81. Whew. The Penguins also have 3 goalies who are 81 overall plus, looking at Nedeljkovic, Blomqvist, and Annunen. The Canucks have Hunter Jones. Wow, he was a legend, a Data 72 Hall of Famer in our Vancouver series in NHL 24, and now in 25 he finds his way back to Vancouver, and he's one of 3 overall, 80 overall plus goalies between himself, Vladar, and Philip Gustafsson. Vegas also has 3 81 overall plus between Samsonov, Hill, and Hildeby. And there you go. Not a ton to be interested in, but they're the goalie trade blocks or goalie situations around the NHL. So I think that about does it. Moving into next episode for year number 7, 20, 30, 31, you can think about any season goals that we could send out, any lineup changes between the special teams, penalty kill, even strength of the NHL and or the AHL. We looked at trade blocks, we can consider that. And last look at contract extensions in case anything changed there for all expiring. Like Zupon's up to 93 now. Did his demand change at all? I wonder. No, still wants 6 by 11.8, which is definitely reasonable, but then he would be 27 years old wanting like literally, I kid you not, 18 plus million as an offensive defenseman in 6 years' time. So I would probably rather go 4 years at 11 point whatever with, actually we can't put any clause. So I'm probably thinking 4 by 12.5. Makes sense for who he is and his overall and his age and everything. Probably 4 by 12.5-ish if we were to do Landon Dupont right now. And then after that, he gets his big boy contract, but we can play with clauses and RFA eligibility, blah, blah, blah. Matty Barzal at 33 years of age wants 4 by 13.3, which I don't think we'd be able to do. It comes down in a big way. Like 3 years at 11.9 is much more reasonable. But then his organizational interest has gone down a bit. So I wonder, maybe Matty Barzal doesn't want to re-sign? Maybe that could be a storyline. David Jiricek is looking at still 1 by 11.1, and every year it goes up by about $1 million. His organizational interest isn't super high either. Vince Dunn would be looking again, same thing, yeah. He'd be most interested in 4 years, but I'd probably be looking at even 2 or 3 with some clauses involved. Bo Horvat will wait on him as he'll likely see some regression this year. 1 year, 9.8 is what he's thinking about right now. But if you bring it down, he has a lot of organizational interest, so that's good news. Yeah. And Ethan Belchetz, last but not least, looking at still 2 years at like 1.925. If we go to try and use up the RFA years, we could bring it up to 2 point something. Yeah. play around with that. All right, so there are the contract demands. Moving into year number 7, ladies and gentlemen. We're playing with fire a little bit. I realize that, but I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Agree or disagree on the off-season that was. Do so down in the comments here on YouTube or over in the Discord server, link in the description. Leave a like if you haven't already, and of course, subscribe. Approaching the big 5-year anniversary. Subscribe and hit that bell if you haven't already to be notified of all of our uploads here in the channel, including our 2 live stream series going on right now. We have the Islanders episodically, but every Tuesday we have the Ottawa Senators on Hockey Legacy Manager 25, and every Thursday the Toronto Blue Jays on MLB The Show 25. Always a little subject to change in case something comes up in the schedule, but you'll get one of each stream per week, usually Tuesdays and Thursdays. Thanks again for being here. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts moving into year number 7 as we try to march our way back to another Stanley Cup Final. The window's been opened up a little bit more, and now we're going to try and squeeze in another cup or 2 before major changes just have to come our way. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.